This car is a 73 RSR that ran at Daytona the 24 hour in 1973. It was driven by George Follmer and Mark Donahue, who were Penske drivers. This was a Penske campaign car. There were two factory cars. These were the first two to come to America. It was Peter Gregg and Hurley Haywood, and the Penske Sunoco car behind me. This car has tremendous history. It led Daytona for 14 hours of the 24-hour race, and then had an engine problem and knocked them out. And then the Hurley Haywood 9 RSR went on to win the race with Hurley and Peter Gregg. This car ran once, as you see it here, and then after the Daytona 24-hour, it was sold to Al Holbert. Holbert campaigned it in Trans Am and IMSA for several years after, and then in 1974, it was destroyed by Milt Minner. It got crashed. So this car behind you is about 80% of the real car. The car had to be retubbed and completely redone, and parts that were taken off of the crashed car at Holbert Racing went on this car. And then when we acquired this car, Al Arciero from Arciero Racing and Foothill Ranch is the owner of this car today. When we acquired this car, we had also acquired several spare parts from that race in 1973, which was absolutely an amazing find. And therefore, we were able to put a lot of the original parts back on this car. And a unique thing that was really valuable to the history of this car is a friend of mine had contacted me from Holbert Racing that worked for Al Holbert when he campaigned this car, and when it was crashed, and they had stripped all the parts off of the car that was savable. And he had told me that when Al moved on to 74 RSR and a 75 RSR, those parts disappeared that were savable. And then he told me that he was cleaning out a storage unit, and they had a box of parts he found. He said, "Would you like to have it? I heard you guys have this car." I said, "Yeah, no problem." So he sent me the box, went through the box. There were some miscellaneous pieces and parts that we already had on the car we didn't need. But in the bottom of the box, in an envelope, was the original chassis tag off of the original car, which we don't put on this car, obviously, because this is not the original chassis, but we have that in the history book. So that in itself makes this car incredibly, historic in that respect. And then my uncle's George Follmer, and he drove this car, and he's still alive, and he will drive it at Rennsport, along with Al Arciero, who will drive it. And so it's pretty unique that it's in our family. This car is back, and we campaign it on a regular basis in vintage racing and take it to various Porsche events. So the next time this car campaigns will be in September at Rennsport in Monterey.